And now on Esoteric Cliffnotes, we have Voluntary Controls by Jack Schwartz. There's no T, so Schwartz. Once again, I hope I pronounce his name correctly. All right, before I dive in, just a quick note from the reader. There are a lot of wonderful diagrams in here. And as much as I would love to show you all these diagrams, it's just not in the cards right now. Maybe there'll be a follow-up where I can show these beautiful diagrams and the exercises that they go along with. If there's something really important that comes up, I'll try to describe them as best as I can, but the accompanying text should pretty much do it for now. So, yeah. All right, with that, let's dive in. Chapter 1, Mediating and Meditating. Worship means being actively involved and interacting. We can be mediators when we worship and when we meditate. When we take this active role, we live it every moment, not just at pre-designated times. Everything in life is affected, especially our health and our state of mind. I keep my attention occupied by visualizing something outside my being, paying no attention to my arm. In this way, it can be said that I'm not putting the needle through my arm, I'm putting the needle through an arm. And this is something said by this gentleman, this gentleman that carried out an experiment at the Langley Porter Neuropsychiatric Institute where he put a needle or a blade through his arm and didn't bleed or anything. And he pulled it out and everything was fine. To attain such harmony, you need to develop a non-attached point of view, an awareness of the purpose of life, and a flow of energy or consciousness that is not hindered by fear or repressed emotion. 2. Self-initiation. By moving into the unknown, I gain the opportunity to expand my competency. This is one reason why we should remain non-attached to any single aspect of ourselves or our lives. We must learn to let it go so that we can grow. Jesus Christ, one of the initiates whose voice is still heard, said, "Ye can do the things I do, and greater things will ye do." As long as we keep worshiping the man without living his principles, we cannot even begin to do the things he did. Students are their teachers' peers. The model created by all my perceptions is unique to me. Awaken to your own mastery. We have a mind and substance and a source from which we derive our being. Then you can become aware of this world by developing what I call universal peripheral vision. You will expand your vision until you begin to perceive much more than you do now. You will perceive with both your physical eyes and your spiritual understanding. Finally, you can begin to express this awareness in all your actions, to practice it in every thought and deed. The challenge of our age is to become alchemists, transmuting the energy of insight and wisdom into practical living, and thus to manifest the divine on earth. Chapter 3, Preparing to Practice. We say that we know something, but actual knowing comprises 3 functions: thinking, feeling, and knowing. Thinking is based on a logical verification of sensory perceptions, identifying them with the aid of preconceived concepts. Feeling is our emotional feedback and responses to the external world. Knowing, however, is based on intuitional experience. The wholeness that is the cosmic ocean can be called the universal mind. This omniscient mind is individualized within us as our paraconscious mind, and it is through this aspect of our mind that we partake of all knowingness. When we pay attention to the quiet voice of the paraconscious mind, is that as soon as a problem arises, the solution is born. Through the paraconscious mind, we can know the solution as soon as we encounter the problem. Present the problem that has frozen in your conscious mind to your paraconscious by making the decision to dream about it. If you want to hear the answer, you must first ask for it. Spirit is the prime substance from which everything is made. This is why I believe that our individualized minds created our bodies. Our bodies are contained within our minds, not the reverse. Paraconscious mind partakes of the omniscience of universal mind. When the paraconscious is clogged through our lack of creative expression and our denial of our intuitions, we suffer from imbalance. One of the techniques to use to optimize the powers of self-observation and meditation is the creation of a mirror image of yourself, a second you. This is a way of encouraging a state of non-attachment so that you will not cling to a certain identity and will be free to allow the mirror image full liberty in its behavior. The unconscious and paraconscious can then reveal themselves through this mirror image. Remember that you are not trying to exercise mental discipline over all your actions, reactions, and decisions. Your goal is to become open to and aware of all the information and experiences of your organism. Chapter 4, Reverie. And here the writer lays out some exercises for reverie, just to bring to the surface some things in the subconscious and help you come up with answers. There are tons of great exercises in here. I'm just going to actually read in detail one or maybe a couple that I think are really powerful. I might do some separate recordings for these exercises because I think they're super cool. But I'm going to have to skip through most of them, unfortunately. Okay, so projection screen of memory. In your mind's eye, project all the day's activities, interactions, thoughts, and so on onto an imaginary movie screen. Most people find that they can concentrate better by closing their eyes when they experience the internal world. Begin with your first waking moment and let your day roll on the screen. Know that you are the projector. Who is the observer? It is also you, who are objective and uninvolved in the events shown on the screen. When you observe an event and judge it to be a negative occurrence, stop the film. Look at this frozen moment in time, study this single image, and make an effort to see its positive side. Remember that every time a problem is born, its solution is created too. See the solution in the problem on the screen. Perceive the wholeness of the situation by moving beyond your initial judgment of it and embracing it with an understanding of both its positive and its negative aspects. Weed out the guilt you have implanted in yourself as a result of your self-condemnation. Acknowledge what you have learned from this situation and your reaction to it, and forgive yourself. Then roll the movie again and complete the picture of the day. And now relaxation. I'm just going to mention the highlighted parts here. You must maintain the direct alignment of the spine because any curve or deformation will inhibit the flow of energy through the spinal column. I will warn you that meditation unfulfilled by practical expression throughout the day will create an overcharge indicated by headaches, stomach aches, and other physical discomforts. And then he also lays out some breathing patterns. The breathing pattern that is most suitable for meditation is paradoxical breathing, which is mostly abdominal and slightly thoracic. When an individual breathing in this pattern is monitored for brainwaves and muscle activity in the chest and abdomen, these two indicators become synchronized. And just a note from the reader here, in some practices, this is called reverse breath or reverse breathing or inverse breathing. Yeah. Okay. Train yourself to disregard your breathing pattern. If you happen to notice that it is no longer in the paradoxical rhythm, do not stop your meditation in order to correct it. And then there's also self-analytical review. And the mirror image. And here he lays out some exercises, some kind of mental meditative exercises. One is a sculpture of clay. Another one is 7 doors, river and cavern, 5 realms, room of mirrors, cube and sphere. And I would love to read those, but maybe that'll come another time. When we awoke the next morning and went outside, we were stunned to see that the cottage had been transformed into a palace of gleaming white marble. Oh, yes. So this is a story. He also mentions, sorry, I have to kind of circle back here. So he also mentions to help with reverie or imagination or really digging into and priming kind of the subconscious and connecting to the superconscious. And these are my words here, the words from the reader. He suggests reading like old like mythology, like old myths and legends from different parts of the world. And so there's a few that he outlines here. One of them is the dragon and the sun god, which is a Greek myth because it involves Zeus. Another one is the story of Pandora. Many people are familiar with that one. I won't read it. And then there's the blessing. So I'll read that one. Okay, the blessing. Oh, here we go with names. Bacchus, Baucis, and Philemon were a childless old couple who lived by themselves in the deep forest. One day, 2 travelers knocked on the door of their little hut. Although they were very poor, the couple received the weary strangers hospitably. Baucis set the table, which, because it was a very old table, had lost one of its legs, so she propped up the corner with an old crook. She served her visitors some wine squeezed from the few grapevines that grew in their yard, while Philemon butchered their only goose. This simple repast was hardly enough for 4 people, and soon the wine was gone. Philemon pondered how to get some more, but suddenly the wine crook filled itself up with new wine. Then the hosts realized that their guests were Zeus and Hermes. They were awestruck that the gods had come to their humble dwelling. In return for their hospitality, the gods granted them a wish. Instead of wishing for great things, Baucis and Philemon agreed that they only wanted to remain together. Their wish was granted and more. When they awoke the next morning and went outside, they were stunned to see that the cottage had become transformed into a palace of gleaming white marble. Overcome with thanks for the generous gods who had so blessed them, Baucis and Philemon used the palace as a temple and worshipped there until the end of their days. They died together and were transformed into two trees whose upper branches intertwined to form an archway over the temple door. That's a beautiful story. Okay, chapter 5, meditation, creative meditation. So there's silent chanting with vowels like Om. Okay, there's this wonderful diagram in here that's shaped like a U, going down from the left up to the right. So it starts with the theme, concentration, the mirror image, siphoning. So that's a mirror image of yourself. You let the train of thoughts go by, but you just let it pass. And then there's penetration, contemplation, and all that up to this point is reverie. Then synthesis. So that's synthesizing really what's coming from this vision, or what the objective is, or what the lesson is. Then erase, so as in letting it go. And then passive meditation, which includes concentration, decentration, candle flame or the pilot point, breathing, autogenics, chanting, and then becoming it or embodying whatever is that beautiful thing that came up for meditation. So, all right. So in here he outlines these series of ohms to chant before starting a meditation. And he says, in the process of creative meditation, Om is chanted 3 times at each of 4 different intensities and tones. These chants divide the period of silence into 3 episodes. Each time Om is sounded, a deep abdominal breath is slowly exhaled in the following manner. Inhale deeply, exhale as slowly as possible while sounding Om. Remain in the silence, breathing normally. The different episodes are characterized as follows. Number 1, chant Om softly at a fairly high pitch 3 times. The pineal, pituitary, and thyroid energy centers are thus activated and increase the frequencies of their vibrations. This creates an intense, subtle energy that floats towards the thymus or heart chakra and then moves in a vortex to the base of the spine. Number 2, chant Om louder at a lower pitch 3 times. During this sequence, the emotional plane is activated. The solar plexus is stabilized and the heart chakra begins to drop the physical forces from the lower energy centers. Then the energy from all the centers is merged in the heart, which acts as a fulcrum to balance our mental, emotional, and physical planes. Number 3, chant Om even louder at a deeper pitch 3 times. Again, this sound stimulates an energy field and vibrates at a higher frequency. However, this final tone affects the field that surrounds our physical bodies. This field is the double or etheric body. It has exactly the form and shape of our bodies and encloses us completely. The intensity and frequency of these vibrations create the aura that extends out from our bodies in many layers of color and density. And number 4, chant Om less loudly, at the lowest pitch 3 times. This final series of Om is meant to bring you back to your waking consciousness. Meditative awareness can be so expansive, so high, that coming down can be awkward, shocking, even depressing. By sounding Om at a very low pitch, you allow the meditative helium balloon to be slowly deflated, and your re-entry is softened. You will not awaken confused and disoriented, but will leave your meditation as you should. The real expansion is to have our heads in the heavens and our feet firmly on the ground. So, I don't recall if he mentions this somewhere, just a note from the reader here. The first 3 chants, or at least I personally practice the first 3 chants before meditation, when I remember to do it. And the 4th chant is at the very end, after meditation, to kind of bring me back. And personally, just having just carried this practice for a little bit, not somewhat routinely, it helps to, if you're not sure what pitch to chant at, just focus on the top 3 energy centers for the first chant and the bottom 3 energy centers for the second chant, and think of protection and encapsulation for the third one. So that typically, that might help you just figure out what pitch. Okay, a model for meditation. Focus on the theme and cease to be aware of anything beyond it. And this is for concentration. For the mirror image, see that image of yourself approach the theme. Note how you are dressed and make any other observations you can. Penetration. Direct your mirror image to merge into the scene or to contact the symbol and watch what happens. As in reverie, remain an objective observer while your second self plays a subjective role in the situation you have created. Contemplation. All that you can perceive is valid. It is essential that you learn to acknowledge and validate all the images and information displayed during meditation. Synthesis. Create within yourself a feeling of joyful excitement by evoking an image or an event that has this effect on you. Envision this energy radiating into the scene, at first surrounding and then permeating it with pure white light. Erase. Let the white energy become so bright that it actually dissolves the scene you have been watching. Concentration and decentration. In the midst of this white and clear space, we begin the passive stage of creative meditation. Expand your gaze and realize that the brightness you see is actually the flame of a candle. Notice how the dense wax melts when the oxygen from the air combines with the energy being released from the wick to form the flame. Now regard yourself as a symbolic candle. The candle flame. There are 2 ways to use the image of candle flame to spark you into profound expansion of awareness and meditation. For example, mentally squint your eyes and see how the light rays extend from the candle in all directions. Follow one of these rays to the periphery of your vision and then beyond. Follow it as if it were a string connecting you to its destination. What is the destination of light? It is the whole cosmos, the source and cause of the light. Follow the beam of light and experience this source as best you can. Now consciously erase the candle with your eyelids partially open and raise your gaze upward as if you were trying to see the top of your head. Do not strain your muscles, but struggle to look up as far up and back as you can. Pilot light. As you continue to gaze back into your head, your eyelids may flutter slightly. Visualize or feel this tiny spot of very concentrated energy. It is vibrating very quickly, like a tiny rotating sun or like a whirlpool or vortex. Mentally direct your gaze to move down the cylinder as if you were going through a tunnel. As you reach the end of the tunnel, you will emerge into an all-embracing light that will penetrate into every cell of your being. Now imagine yourself to have a floodlight on your forehead that you can switch on. Do not give the light any direction, but allow as much light as possible to flow from your forehead. This energy will behave like every other energy field. It will automatically form a vortex that will surround and thus expand you. And then there's breathing, where you do some breath holds, autogenics, where you speak some positive affirmations to yourself. There's chanting Om, and then awakening using the chant, and then becoming it, where review is one part of the final stage of creative meditation. Remember what happened and try to understand it and integrate it. This part will take a long time to complete because it goes hand in hand with the counterpart, taking action. A note from the reader here. There are a lot of parts of this long exercise, or this kind of creative meditation kind of guidelines that are seen in many practices. It's almost, the mirror image and all of that is almost exactly what is outlined in the Silva mind control method, even the part with eyelids going up. Also, I see bits and parts of this in Marissa Peer's hypnotherapy framework, and the affirmations part. So this really combines a lot of the kind of principles and methods that are outlined in other books as well. I have to say, though, I read this before Silva's mind control method, and I didn't realize really until now how many similarities they are. His seems to have a more practical approach, but they both ended up pretty much at the same place. Okay, Chapter 6, moving on. Chapter 6, Health and Human Energies. Creative meditation teaches us that living is the ultimate meditation. Self-monitoring. Okay. First, we need to explore some of the simplest ways to self-monitor and adjust the flow of energy. The practice of self-monitoring can begin with a procedure as simple as this. Educate your conscious mind to let you know when anything unusual is developing within your body. When you perceive a hint of malfunction, do a body check. Start with your feet and work your way up. This foot is not moving as smoothly as the other. My calves are too tight and I must work on relaxing them, and so on. Mentally go through every part of your body. If you are not sure of the feedback you are getting, use a reverie. Create your mirror image and direct it to travel through your body and check all the organs and functions. If anything seems unusual, focus on it. Surround it with light as you have learned to do in the creative meditation process, or imagine that your breath is being inhaled and exhaled through this place in your body. Your hands can function as jumper cables. Either one can be the sending hand emitting energy, and the other one will be the receiving hand absorbing energy. To begin, place one hand open and flat on the solar plexus between your ribs and your navel. The hand should rest loosely on this spot. There is no need to apply any pressure. This is the sending apparatus. The other hand is positioned on the back of the neck in this fashion. The inner flat pads of your fingers are placed along the cervical vertebrae. The little finger on the atlas, the index close to the first thoracic vertebrae, and the other two spaced evenly between. You can this as having your forefingers arranged on the piano keyboard. Apply a slight pressure and keep the fingers solidly on these points for 3 minutes. During this time, your ascending hand on the solar plexus is pushing the clogged energy upward toward the neck. Soon, a circulation develops between the two hands, loosening the energy and allowing it to be easily discharged. After 3 minutes, reverse your hands and the energy flow by putting the hand that was in front on the neck and the hand on the neck and front on the solar plexus. Keep them there for another 3 minutes while you envision the energy moving between them. These exercises offer short-term relief from a stagnation of energy, but if the energy flow is to be maintained consistently at optimum levels, each of the centers or chakras must be functioning well. Chakras. And there's so many books about chakras. I don't know if it really makes sense to read through all this. All right, so the solar plexus chakra gives exactly the right amount of energy to the adrenal gland to get the correct proportion of adrenaline in our bodies. When the solar plexus chakra is overstimulated, we become too emotional and a difficult cycle begins. The root chakra is overactivated and generates more energy than the solar plexus can handle. This stress causes a blockage that manifests as stomach aches and ulcers. In this case, two energy centers are working against each other. What the gold alchemists were looking for was expanded consciousness, the integration of the above and the below. And so he has different colors for the different chakras than what we're used to seeing. So maybe let me take a few steps back. And so the root chakra, he says, is a red-orange color. The spleen chakra is pink. And the solar plexus he has as green. And he notes that this is the opposition of red. So so that's why there's that synergy. I think of a better word, but why there's that pairing between the first and the third chakra, where he mentions they might oppose each other and cause stomach ulcers. Okay. So the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, he says is gold. And it's a substance that humans sought through the ages. So the heart chakra is symbolized by the cauldron, the witch's kettle, and the holy grail. Okay. The first chakra beyond this point of integration is the throat chakra. The color is blue, symbolizing willpower and volition. I and thou. If the thou aspect is expressed without the involvement of the I, we lose our individuality. We martyr ourselves in the cause of others and fail to reach our own goals. That is wrong, because as long as we are on this earth, we are of this earth and must express our particular ego or identity. At the same time, we do not want to become mere egoists. Creative expression is the domain of the throat chakra, which governs the thyroid gland. People who do not express their creativity often suffer from a thyroid dysfunction. The sixth center is the brow chakra for the pituitary gland. The pituitary the pituitary is the prism that breaks down the light energy, refracts it, and distributes it to the body through the different chakras. God, I said that like a kid. The pituitary is always busy, synthesizing, breaking down, and synthesizing again, taking a little color from this, a little color from that, a little sound from this, a little sound from that, in order to break each down and to bind it together again. Awareness of this precious balance, once achieved, brings great insight. Once the balance is achieved, we no longer need to expand energy in an effort to create it. Okay. What is this something else that we can attend to with after this balance is achieved? It is the continual, rather than fragmentary, experience of insight that in religious traditions is called enlightenment. It is achieved by the opening of the third eye, the full activation of the crown chakra. The seventh chakra is the only one with no spinal contact, and it is connected with the mysterious pineal body, which atrophies in most people by the age of 13 because it is not used. Indeed, it cannot be used until all the other energy centers are balanced and fully functioning. When the base chakra is expressed, then purified by the totality of the whole body, the result is all colors or white. White added to red and blue makes pale purple the door of total integration. At the crown chakra, there is no longer a question of synthesizing, metabolizing, preserving, or promoting life. Total enlightenment resolves in pure white. The fire has become light. Mandala symbolism. We benefit from the acquisition of these regulatory skills because we can create more harmony between all the aspects of our minds and bodies. Self-regulation is not self-control. We do not want our bodies to control our minds or minds control our bodies. Rather, we want each aspect of ourselves to speak freely. Then our total energies will be available for voluntary disposition. Activating the chakras. And this, a note for the reader, I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing meditation or visualization that goes step by step. And you start with the bottom, with the root chakra, and you move your way up after you've integrated it or after you've unblocked it. So he doesn't recommend going through every single chakra, bottom to top, in one go if there's a blockage or if something's overactive, but rather going through them step by step, like one at a time. And this is something, though I'm just reading cliff notes here, just the highlights. This exercise is amazing. I feel everybody should try this out for themselves, and and I will probably end up recording this because it's amazing. Probably obviously in 3 different parts, or not 3 different parts, in 7 parts for each of the chakras. So, yeah, amazing, amazing meditation. I'll probably do it in one part. That way people can kind of stop when they need to. Um, Anywho, like I said, I'm not going to read through all of it. Um, but I will say I went through all of it kind of in one go because I personally didn't experience any blocks. And I, I know the writer mentioned that if the other chakras are not perfectly balanced, that that the crown chakra doesn't activate or anything like that. Well, there were definitely no blockages at all. Nothing crazy. But there were some interesting things that came up, and I'm not a huge visual person, um, but this came to me very, very, very vividly, and I had no issues with my crown chakra at all. Like, it was actually very, very white and bright. So maybe the imbalances balanced each other out. That's probably the way it is. But just to note, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect from top to bottom. for one to achieve that. That's not my experience, or for one to experience that with their crown. Anywho, on to chapter 8, harmony of mind and body. Rather than seeing our bodies as separate entities, we need to perceive a relationship between mind and body. And for this relationship to be balanced, a fulcrum is needed on which the tension between mind and body can be balanced. That fulcrum is the soul or spirit, the third aspect of the triune nature of the human being. Okay. Attachment and energy stagnation are the primary sources of disease. Another critical conscious moment of choice is when you suddenly doubt yourself. Even when you may have been following your own direction admirably for years, you may find yourself suddenly following somebody else's ideas by comparing yourself with someone else. This is the first step toward alienating aspects of yourself. Once communication among the three aspects of your being breaks down, the internal war begins. When the early warning signals are ignored or dealt with by severe repressive reactions, cancer moves into the third stage, malignant tumors. Now the body has developed a plant for the reproduction of mutant cells, and other bodily functions begin to suffer a loss of nutrition and energy. I feel that cancer is completely curable through its first three stages. You do not have to look outside yourself for the cure. You already have it, and you need only to learn how to apply it. That cure is consciousness. Full consciousness is total immunity from disease. Therefore, the nutrients required by the body could also be subtle in form, so subtle in fact that they could be generated from incoming photons or light. A body that attained a state of harmony beyond what we think of as mere health would transform light into electrical energy in the chakras. A second transformation would then occur to turn the electric energy into the chemical form that nourishes the cells. To complete the circuit, the chemicals would turn back into electric energy that would be emitted by the chakras. Instead of getting energy from secondary sources such as animals and plants, a person in total harmony would derive it directly from the sun, as plants do in photosynthesis. Whenever I energize a problem by allowing a flow of insight to interact with it, I know that the solution I find will not be laden with punitive and reactive judgments. I have suggested that our health is a barometer of our awareness of all aspects of our beings. Through creative self-analysis, we can learn to regulate ourselves and attain inner harmony. However, as we achieve this heightened consciousness, we also take on an additional responsibility. I put it this way: as long as I am in this world, I have to serve the world in order to serve myself. And I see myself as being humanity, not just the individual I am. Our duty then is to fulfill ourselves for the sake of all selves, as a body, mind, spirit unity, to express consciously one aspect of the universe. And that's it. Final thoughts from the reader, even though I've already shared so much. This book, I absolutely cherish this book. If anybody can get their hands on a copy, I strongly recommend it. And yeah, it's an amazing book. It really has brought together a lot of principles and a lot of practices that I have found just in my searching and my learning. And this chakra meditation, like awareness meditation, is absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's definitely one of the favorites that I've read in the last year.